Today we're doing one of my favorite videos of the year. It's the worst watches of 2023. I started making these videos, these top videos at the end of the year when I first started my channel, and this has always been my favorite video. And that's because talking about the bad watches of the year is almost as good as talking about the best watches. So without further ado, I have 10 watches to talk about with you guys. Let's flip the camera and take a look at my 10 choices. So there's really no criteria for these watches. These are watches that I felt are the worst watches of 2023. If you disagree with me or you think I've left some watches off of this list, please add them down in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think were the worst watches of 2023? Do you agree with my list? I'm going to start with number 1. These are in no particular order. However, the last watch on this list is definitely the worst watch in my opinion. Starting with number 1. And this is a watch that I think will make a lot of people's list. It is the Tissot PRX Digital. This is a watch that basically nobody asked for. And when I did a video about this watch, it got some of the worst comments that I've gotten all year long. I think the biggest problem with this watch is that it looks cheap. It looks like a design that wasn't really thought through. The module that they chose for the digital display on this watch looks cheap. They feel like a Tissot PRX in hand. However, like I said, they just don't look good. Next on the worst watches of 2023 is a watch that I absolutely loved. And unfortunately, the price on this watch ruins it for me. And I think it ruins it for most people who are in the market for a Genta designed integrated bracelet watch that wanted to get something that was affordable. And that is, of course, the IWC Ingenieur reissue. This is a very good looking watch. It gets that eye pattern on the dial, a titanium bracelet, which is gorgeous. IWC do a great job with their bracelets, and this is a fantastic bracelet. It's a good looking watch that's really nicely sized. Unfortunately, the price that they went with on this watch was astronomical. I think a lot of people expected this to be in the $6,000 to $7,000 range. However, they came out with something double that. It was around $15,000. I'm not sure if these are actually selling through IWC, but you guys know that I'm a big fan of IWC. I have an Ingenieur perpetual calendar flyback chronograph, and I paid $15,000 for that watch. It's in grade 5 titanium, and you can see where I'm going here. I have 2 perpetual calendars, both of them cheaper than this watch, and both of those are in titanium. So I'm not sure what they were thinking. However, when these do hit the secondary market for a very big discount, I might be on board. Next on this list is a watch that I probably would never ever look at. And I don't think anybody watching this video would look at it either. It's a TAG Heuer. Now, TAG Heuer was on fire this year with some amazing Carreras that they came out with. The proportions, the dials, everything about them really spot on beautiful. They're on the more expensive side, but they are really getting the details right. This is a watch where they got all the details wrong. This is called the Carrera Plasma. It's a diamond watch that's all black, and it is gross, for lack of a better term. This is a very ugly watch that they came out with, I guess, to balance their good-looking watches that they came out with earlier in the year. I have no idea why they would ever come out with this watch. I'm not sure who actually would wear this watch in public. It's just tacky. Next is another watch that really hurts me to actually bring it up on a worst watches of 2023 video. It's a Timex. It's their 3 time zone chronograph. They came out with some beautiful chronographs this year. The Marlin chronograph was just amazing. They also came out with a Q Timex chronograph, which was insanely good. However, this one completely missed the mark. Their GMT version of the chronograph for the Q Timex just didn't do it for a lot of people, and I am one of them. It had a very busy dial with lots going on, a very weirdly placed date wheel, lots of things going on this dial, and it just didn't work out. Fortunately, they did come out with a few other chronographs this year that were amazing. This one, I guess we just have to look over. Now, this is a watch that I know will make a lot of lists this year. It's the Swatch Blancpain collaboration. This is a 50 fathoms made out of bioceramic, and of course, a lot of people went nuts when they came out with this watch. There were still lines for this watch. People lined up to buy these watches. However, they are nowhere near as popular as the MoonSwatch was when they were first released. And I think that's because of what they did around those first releases of the MoonSwatch. I think a lot of people learned their lesson and did not come back to Swatch for these watches. And there's also one other reason. It does cost $400. It's automatic, it's bioceramic. You're getting a lot more than you did when you got the MoonSwatch. However, $400 puts you in that range where you can get a micro brand that will outperform this watch in every single way. So that's the reason why I think it's one of the worst watches of 2023. So no worst watches of 2023 list would be complete without a dig towards Rolex. They came out with a few watches this year that I thought were pretty terrible and really not in line with what Rolex normally do. They came out with a bubble watch, which was an OP. It has bubbles on the dial. Those are actually selling for a lot more than the asking price. I think they're pretty ugly. It's kind of crazy that they would even do it. And the fact that people are paying overpriced for them is almost infuriating. And then they came out with a puzzle watch that was a day date. I believe the proceeds for that watch went to benefit autism. I really do support that. However, I do think it is an ugly watch, unfortunately. I do wish that they would do something more mainstream and then also put those proceeds towards autism. They could sell a ton of watches and give a lot of money to a very good cause. And obviously they did this with a puzzle watch, which is kind of puzzling. Next on this list is a watch that I am very confused by. It's a G-Shock. It's the 6900. It is a collaboration with Ed Sheeran. Now, if it was just a collaboration with Ed Sheeran, that would make sense. It was inspired by cover art that was on one of his most recent records. That doesn't make all that much sense to me, but what doesn't make sense to me is the fact that this was a collaboration with Hodinkee, and then it was curated by John Mayer. I'm not sure how many more people or businesses they can get involved with this G-Shock, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. And also, it's pretty ugly. It's just a yellow watch that looks kind of dirty. Another watch that kind of hurts me to say it is one of the worst watches of 2023 is the Hodinkee collaboration with Longines. You can see a theme here. The second Hodinkee collaboration on this list. This was a collaboration with Longines, and this is a Zulu Time GMT that's in titanium. This is a good looking watch that takes inspiration from a Tudor Black Bay Pro, or at least a lot of people are saying that because it looks a lot like a Tudor Black Bay Pro. In fact, I think it looks more like an Explorer, and that's kind of what they were going for. I think that the Tudor Black Bay Pro is an homage to the Explorer, so this is an homage to the Explorer as well. Unfortunately, it's also one of the most hated watches that Hodinkee have come out with this year, including that John Mayer, Ed Sheeran, Hodinkee, G-Shock collaboration that I just mentioned. However, it's not sold out on their website. This is one of the few times that they've come out with a limited edition. I think it's only limited to 500 Longines, and it's a GMT in titanium. It sounds great on paper, but they haven't sold out of it yet. So that tells you something. The next watch I'll mention on this list is going to be very quick. It's based on the fact that it's extremely expensive. I think it's almost $500,000. It's the watch that Claude Biver came out with his son. These are good looking watches. However, I do not think that they warrant the price that he is asking. I think he's just trying to ride the wave of his popularity. A lot of the watches that he's come out with in the past, I don't like. A lot of the watches that he's designed, I don't like. I do actually like the design of this watch, but I really don't like the price. It makes absolutely no sense. However, what do I know? These probably are selling. There are probably people out there paying $500,000 for a watch that looks like a $20,000 watch. Last but not least, the most hated watch of 2023 has to be the moonshine versions of the MoonSwatch. And the reason why I'm saying this is because not only were people infuriated by these watches when they came out, it got the most negative comments that I have ever gotten on any video. The most thumbs down that I believe were pointed to the watch and not me, hopefully. However, I was also very angry about this watch. When they first came out with the first version, I thought it was a joke. And then they had this big buildup to the release of the watch. They only released it in certain markets. I think people are getting completely fed up with Swatch. And if they come out with another version of these sort of collaboration watches, it will be a flop. You could see that this is trending downwards for them. And as they are moving through the arsenal of their watches, of their popular icons, there aren't that many that are going to garner the sort of hype created around the Speedmaster. I'm not sure this is going to work for them very much longer. They sort of caught lightning in a bottle. They tried it again with the Blancpain. I'm not sure that's really working, because you could walk into a Swatch store right now and buy one. You could buy these MoonSwatches as well. I'm really disappointed in what they did this year with these Moonshine gold versions. I really do think it's a money grab. I've actually disagreed with that in the past, but this time I think it's a money grab. These are really just useless watches, and they're just trying to come up with ways to get you online to buy a watch. That's it. Create hype and get you online to wait for a watch that is okay. It's a nice watch, but it's definitely not worth the money that they're charging for it, and it definitely does not warrant you waiting online. Tell me what you think of the watches that I chose here on my list today. These are the worst watches of 2023. I mentioned 10 different watches. 2 of those were Swatches, obviously. However, there were a lot of other good watches that I mentioned here that I thought were really terrible, or that I thought were pretty good, but for one reason or another ended up being on this list. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. Tell me the watches that I missed. Tell me if you agree with my list. Tell me if there's anything on here that you would have taken off. I want to hear from you guys. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It's super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Anyway, guys, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and thank you for another successful year here on Watch Chris. I really could not do it without you guys, and I really do appreciate every single one of you, every one of my subscribers, anybody who is watching my videos. I really do appreciate it. And have a happy and healthy holiday and a prosperous 2024.